You're listening to the Deep Purple Podcast, a fan podcast about one of the most legendary bands of all time, Deep Purple. We take a look at the music, history, and people behind the band Deep Purple and beyond. Welcome to the Deep Purple Podcast, the first and only podcast devoted to one of the greatest bands in rock history, Deep Purple. Today's episode is episode number 169, Zephyr, going back to Colorado. And coming to you from the mile-high suburbs of Chicago, I'm your host, Nathan Beaudry.
And coming to you from the suburbs of Providence, I'm your co-host, John Summer Vacation Matola.
Oh my goodness, are you officially on summer vacation?
No, just a few more days.
Okay. Well, still, it's exciting.
I'm excited though. Yeah, that's I'm counting down. 2 weeks off, baby.
2 weeks off. Not bad. Not bad.
What am I going to do with them?
Oh, what? But won't you do? That's easy.
Go to work.
Yeah. These people, I'm telling you, I was having this conversation with actually with Chris L just I think yesterday.
Yeah.
About he was, they mentioned on their show about someone who had gotten a big boatload of money to retire, and then they just like keep on working, and it's just like I can't understand if somebody just gave me, like, I'm always calculating what's the minimum amount of money I would need to retire and just never work again, and these people are like, get $70 million payout, and they're like, well, I want to keep doing my things, or I'm gonna work because I'll get bored. I'm like, how boring are you that you will get bored? Like, it does not compute with me. How could you get bored ever? Like, I have enough projects, like just in this room right here, that I've been holding off on for years, that I could keep myself easily. If I retired now and lived to be 100, I wouldn't get to all of them. So I just really don't know. I don't understand.
Oh yeah, I mean, I would, like, if I had the money and retired, I'd fly out there every week to do the show live.
Yeah, why not? I mean, we'd have to have a little more money because we'd run out of our retirement fund pretty early, spending $500 a week on plane tickets. But
yes, true. Well, all right, if I was able to retire and hit the lottery, I don't know.
There you go. Yeah, I just have a little bit extra tucked away for those plane flights. Yeah, that would be great. Do the in-person shows.
I think the only I might take a job as like something, if I hit the lottery or retired or whatever, I'd like to take a job as like a Walmart greeter or something, but I'd be like Chevy Chase and like Christmas Vacation. People would like walk in. I'd be like, yeah, kiss my ass, kiss his ass, kiss your ass. Happy Hanukkah. Like, walk in and just insult people. Like, go ahead, fire me. What do I care?
Yeah, that might be fun. Yeah, but even that, I think we just, after a certain point, especially when you realize like how hard it is to get fired, you just be like, wait a second, I've been doing this for like a month. The most that's happened so far is my manager was like, hey, could you knock that off? Like, this, I'm out of here. This is just not fun.
Yeah,
it would get old
quickly.
But hey, listen, if you want to support the Deep Purple Podcast and all of this craziness, we would really appreciate it. For as little as, how much is it? $1 a month. You can help support the Deep Purple Podcast, keep us in good things. We would really appreciate it. You can do it via PayPal if that's comfortable for you, but we also are available on Patreon. So for as little as $1 a month on Patreon, you can support the show. Great stuff. We really appreciate all of our patrons. You can also donate on Cash App with $DPPOD. And you know what? You can also buy some merch on our Etsy store. But there's one more thing you can do, and that is to leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. And hey, that doesn't cost you anything. You leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. We will call you out on the show. You'll get to hear the flexitone going. And we haven't got one of those in a little while. The flexitone is right here to my left, right on my little electronic tom, and it's it's dormant right now.
Have we gotten any
sound it in your honor?
Have we gotten any reviews lately?
No, we haven't had one in quite a few weeks.
Ooh.
So, I mean, eventually you just kind of reach a saturation point when so many people leave reviews, and then, there's a lot of people that, like I said, I think there's so many people, because I remember, years ago listening to podcasts, and, they say, leave a 5-star review, and you're driving, you're like, oh yeah, I'll do that. And then you get to where you're going, you forget, you have every intention to do it, but you forget. It's easy to forget. And especially people that aren't listening on Apple Podcasts, might just be like, well, I don't, I'm not going to do it. But you can go to Apple Podcasts or search them on Google and leave them that way. But I think you have to have like an Apple account and everything. So it's like the best way to spread the word about the show, but it's also kind of a pain in the butt for everybody. So, and there's also a lot of people that leave us a 5-star review. You just click, you can just click the stars, boop, 5 stars, and we get the 5 stars. But if you didn't write anything, then there's nothing to read. So you actually have to physically write something too. So there's a lot of reasons why, we've got, I don't know how many, can I see how many reviews? We have 78 reviews on Apple Podcasts.
That's pretty good.
An average of 4.69. So pretty good.
Out of 5, right?
Out of 5. Out of 10, I would not be talking about it. 4.69 out of 100.
Ooh.
But yeah, so we got overall good reviews. I'm sure there's a lot of people have given us 5-star reviews and haven't written anything. But hey, if you want to write us something, it'd be great. Even if you just want to, even if it has to be short, it doesn't have to be anything. Tell us why you love the show. Tell us what you like about Deep Purple. Tell us how you got into the band. Tell us how you discovered the show, all that fun stuff, and we'd love to talk about it. But speaking of our patrons, coming in at the $25 Uncommon Man tier, we have Mr. Ovis Nakvi. At the $12.99 What's Going On Here tier, we got Richard Fusey. So did I mention that last week? Yeah, Richard is, every like month, Richard just kind of does a manual donation, and it's always different. This month he's gone with $12.99, so I call it the What's Going On Here tier because
yes, you did.
I don't know. No, I think last time it was something else. I called it the I don't even remember what I called it. But it was a different level. It was like $7.99, and it was 12. I don't remember what it was. It was something different, and I called it up something similar to that. So I think I'm just going to keep him at the What's Going On Here tier, because I don't know. I don't know what the story is with these different donations, but I love it. Keeps us guessing. At the £10 tier, we have Dr. Jill Brees. At the turn it up to $11 tier, we have Clay Wambacher, Frank Teelgard Mortensen, Alan Ain't Too Proud to Beg, and Mikkel Steen. And at the $10 Someone Came tier, Ryan M., Jeff Bryce, Victor Campos, Better Call Saul Evans, Kev Roberts, and his wonderful children, Matthew, Gareth, and Sarah. Thank you so much to all of these wonderful patrons that are coming in at an executive level tier, and we'll get to those other levels later on in the episode. And some of these, it's funny. Some of these patrons we hear from nonstop emails, and they're in the Discord channel. If you become a patron, you get access to our rating spreadsheet and our Discord channel where we have our special patrons chat. So some folks are in there. Some people, drop an email every so once in a while. Some folks I don't really hear much from at all. So it'd be great to if we could hear something from everybody. If you're so interested, we love hearing from our patrons and from anybody that listens. Okay, so with that being said, before we get into the meat of the episode, there is one thing we must do, and that is a little segment we like to call Postcards from the Edge of Connecticut. All right, this week we have a postcard coming to us. Is it even? This one is actually not. This is from the edge of Maine. Look at this little frightening bear.
Well, it looks like he has Dracula teeth in or something. You remember those fake Dracula teeth you put in, like from the Halloween store? You'd be like, ah, blue. I'm a black bear.
I've been telling my friend Chris. So, Chris, for those of you who listen, you've heard him invoked a few times. He a tremendous jackass. One of my oldest friends. I ran the studio with him. We were in bands together. He's helped us behind the scenes on the show a number of times with some of the audio stuff. Really, really good engineer. But he went and got his driver's license picture taken and decided he would put in the Dracula teeth when he did it. So when they took the picture, he just kind of gently opened his mouth and showed them. And they took the picture, and it got onto his license. It actually went through. And,
I love it.
And he went to the I guess he went to the bank one time, and he gave her the license to tell her, and she freaked out. I guess she was scared of vampires, which seems really weird. Vampires aren't real, right? But she freaked out and ran away, so he felt bad about. Well, I don't even know if he felt bad. He should have felt bad. But yeah, I got a picture. I gotta see if I can dig up a picture of it, because I do have a picture of his ID from when he had the Dracula.
Oh, that's
teeth.
fantastic.
It was pretty great. But yeah, that's Chris for you. Okay, so this one comes to us from none other than Peter Gardeau, or Peter Gardo. I know on their podcast they say Gardo, so maybe I've been putting the emphasis on the wrong syllable. But this one says, "Dear DPP, in Maine again, opening the lake house of a friend. No dirty pizza on the way, only the best. Please write back, Pete." Well, there you go. The Dracula vampire bear. Reflecting my old life there. I want to eat some honey. Thank you, Pete. We appreciate always appreciate you dropping us a line. And he actually later on texted me the other night with the row back and showed me some picture of his pizza oven. He has the same pizza oven that I just got. And then we ended up having a little FaceTime call with me and Gardo and the row back. So it's fun.
You got a pizza oven?
Yeah, for Father's Day, I got a pizza oven. It's pretty sweet.
Well,
so
that
when you come up and visit, we'll have to fire that bad boy up.
You gonna make me deep dish?
That's a good question. I don't know if you can do deep dish on that.
Oh, what the hell am I coming to Chicago for?
I'll order Lou Malnati's for you, and I'll make deep pizzas for everybody else in that, because it gets super super hot, and it cooks a pizza in like 60 seconds.
Yeah, and that's really, I like, all kidding aside, I know that's best for like a regular or thin crust pizza, like a Neapolitan style.
You get melted cheese and then raw dough on the inside.
Well, all right, not to that, but like the nice and thin, the way Mama used to make.
You need a thin crust, huh? What am I making? A focaccia here? I need some pizza. So if you're interested in hearing some podcasts about some other bands, please check out Deep Dive Podcast Network. All sorts of bands. We just got the new Tom Petty podcast was added. So if you're into Tom Petty, you can check them out. Let me just see the, here we go. Here's the latest from the network here. So we've got, obviously we get the Megadeth podcast. Have we even entered? I don't think we've entered that. So we've got our Megadeth podcast, which is So Far So Pod So What, with Jonathan and True Gregadeth, which I actually was just listening to before the show. We've got
that one is great. Yeah,
the Tom Petty Project podcast, and then we've got Backtrack's theme music, where they're breaking down, instead of a band, breaking down theme music from movies, TV, and etc., which is pretty cool. So check that out. Okay, and we'll have links to all that stuff in the show notes. All right, folks, here we are, the day never thought would come. We are tackling the second Zephyr album today, and that one, of course, is Going Back to Colorado. So, John, what's your memories of this particular album?
When you suggested this topic, I was like, didn't we already do this one? But I'm like, I was really trying to remember, because I guess it was the first album.
Yeah, we just did the first one.
Yeah, we just did it like 50 episodes ago.
I mean, we just did the first one.
We just did it.
We
like months and months ago.
Yeah, like a year ago, or whatever it was.
Yeah. So I believe after the Ultimate, I picked up the Ultimate Tommy Bolin box set. I picked up the first album and this album. Honestly, can't remember what order I picked them up in. But I know that I think it was the song that I really liked was on the Ultimate, was on this album. So can't remember which one I got first, but I think I regarded this as the better of the two albums. I can't remember. Feel like, Candy Givens might have been a little more scaled back here. I don't know. Kind of not looking forward to it. Not in the mood for listening to any more shrill voices tonight, but we'll see.
Anymore? Have you been listening to shrill voices all day?
Yeah, work.
Yes.
But yeah, that's the album as a whole, I I'm not really, haven't listened to it for a long time. So I'm sure, like every other album, I'll probably be like, oh yeah, I remember that. but I think I remember this one being a little better, produced, or a little, let's say, easier on the ears
Hmm.
than the
Yep.
first one. So that is that.
Yeah, and I think that's my kind of that's my take as well. Is this was my go-to of the two. I listened to the first one a fair number of times, but this was kind of my go-to album of the two. I remember better production, and just kind of an overall more enjoyable. But it's been a long time since I listened to it front to back, so I'm looking forward to getting into it tonight and seeing what really uh, what my real take is on it. So getting into it real quick, just a little bit of background, what I could dig up. So David Givens, bass player for Zephyr and Candy's husband, he met Jimmy Page in Boston when they were opening for Led Zeppelin. Page recommended seeking out Eddie Kramer. He says Givens called Kramer when they were in New York and dropped to Jimmy Page's name. So Kramer told him to come down to the studio, which I always think is a funny story because it's just like, hey, yeah, Jimmy Page told me to come. Oh, he did come on in. Like it seems like it doesn't seem like it would be hard to fake.
I know. I'm thinking like, wow, that story worked. Yeah.
Yeah, like because if Jimmy Page was like, hey, Nate, listen, just go down there and say Jimmy Page told you to come, I'd be like, could I get like something in writing, or could you call for me? Because I just don't see anyone believing that.
Yeah, they'd be like, sure, hang on. I have Santa Claus on hold. Let me just finish up my call and I'll get right to you. Get out of here.
Get out of here, you bum. I'm Eddie Kramer. I don't need you. So yeah, so they do that. They were in the middle of building Electric Ladyland when they arrived. Givens describes the scene when they get in, and like Kramer's like crawling all around. There's wires everywhere because they're wiring up studios, because there were several different studios within Electric Ladyland. Kramer went to see the band when they were in Boulder playing, and he liked them, so he agreed to produce the album. They were on ABC's label at the time, and the president wanted them to go with another producer, and I'm probably going to pronounce his name wrong. Bill. There's a lot of consonants. Simchek. It's probably Simchek to produce.
We'll go with that.
And then the president of ABC said that Kramer, they didn't want Kramer because he was all hyped up. He got too much credit for Jimi Hendrix's success, and they didn't like him. Givens said he fought about it. He didn't agree, and then ABC dropped them as a result. So they went and recorded with them anyway, despite the threats or whatever from the management. For the record label, I should say. So the core band here, everyone is pretty much the same except for one change. David Givens is on bass, John Ferris on piano, saxophone, flute, organ. Eddie Kramer does play a little of the piano on this album. Candy Givens obviously on vocals, Tommy Bolin on guitar, and then Bobby Berge comes in on drums. In the book, in the Tommy Bolin biography or book, what the heck's the name of it? Touch of why am I forgetting it? I'm always using it, but anyway, the Tommy Bolin, the great Tommy Bolin book, where they have all the quotes from everybody. Johnny Bolin says Robbie Chamberlain and Tommy, about Robbie Chamberlain, that Tommy never liked him, the previous drummer. They got rid of him, and that's when they got Bobby Berge. David Givens says Tommy said, I know this guy from South Dakota, Bobby Berge, so he brought Bobby out. Bobby was this really weird, unhip, backward guy. He had a really domineering wife. He was a really sweet guy, but we picked on him. I don't know what that's about. David describes the band as being sort of snobby hippies, and said that Bobby didn't really fit in. He said Robbie was hard to get along with, which is, I guess, why Tommy wanted him out. Robbie's feelings towards Tommy were mutual. Robbie didn't like Tommy. Robbie thought Tommy was arrogant, and Tommy thought Robbie was stuck up and a stick in the mud. And David says they were both right. Bobby said Tommy's playing on the first Zephyr album blew him away, so he's excited to join the band. So why wouldn't you be excited to play with those guys? So I'm going to have to look this up because it's driving me crazy. But the Tommy Bolin book is called Touched by Magic. There we go. Touched by Magic by Greg Prado. Great book. Check it out. It's all just firsthand quotes from folks that knew Tommy. So it's really, it's rather than just being kind of a narrative. So it's really cool. On this one, on backing vocals, we've got Albertine Robinson, who had done work with George Benson, Bob Dylan, and Al Cooper. We also have Eileen Gilbert, who worked with George Benson, Edgar Winter, and somebody that's famous for your favorite style of music, Jimmy Smith. Hey, man.
Boo,
Rastafari.
boo. No.
John's favorite genre.
I'm a true Rastafarian.
Rastafari.
Hey, man.
You ever see the Ross Trent from Saturday Night Live?
Is it old?
Yeah, it's pretty old at this point. It's great. It's Andy Samberg, and he's like playing like a white boy with dreads that's like into Rastafarianism.
Yeah,
it's fantastic. We'll have to watch it after the show.
Okay.
And his name's Trent, so he calls himself Ross Trent. Yeah, it's great. We've got on backing vocals also Jared Gingerface McMahon.
Gingerface.
Yeah, worked with a lot of stuff. The most interesting, to Jimmy Smith ties into our previous episode, and then this guy's got something else that ties him into the previous episode, and you wouldn't guess it in a million years. But this guy wrote and recorded a song for the soundtrack of The Lost Boys. Remember you were talking about how that guy looked like he was from The Lost Boys that was interviewing Gillan and Glover.
Yeah.
So so a weird connection. So 2 weird connections to our previous episode. On backing vocals, we also have Tasha Thomas, who worked with Jim Croce, did a bunch of stuff. And then interesting, Tasha also provided backing vocals on the 1977 Kiss album Love Gun as one of the Kissettes.
Nice.
Tasha Thomas, so probably got that Eddie Kramer connection going on, which is probably why she's involved with this too. On Moog synthesizer on one of the songs, Paul Conley, who worked with the Chemical Brothers and one of my favorite bands, Lothar and the Hand People. Have you heard of them? They pop up every so often, and every time I hear them, I just think of again, I hate to keep bringing it back to Saturday Night Live, but do you remember that Mike Myers skit from like the late 80s, early 90s, Lothar of the Hill People?
I don't remember a lot. I didn't watch SNL too much. So,
well, my cousin Jeff would record he would record it every week, and then we would like just we basically watch it 7 times until the next week and we record it again. But Lothar of the Hill People was Mike Myers, and he was like this caveman. He's like, I am Lothar of the Hill People. It was just a dumb Saturday Night Live skit that's probably funnier to talk about than to actually listen, but it was great. We've also got Paul Fleischer, who worked on saxophone. He worked with Lou Reed, and then we have Buzzy Linhart, who passed away actually like a year or 2 ago. He's doing vocals on one of the tracks, and he played with John Sebastian, Harry Nilsson, and Mark Moogie Klingman. So I wonder if that was another Moog synthesizer guy. I don't know. Producer, of course, is Eddie Kramer, who you probably know better than I do, but I mean, talk about a legend. We worked with Hendrix, he worked with the Rolling Stones, he worked with the Beatles, Bowie, Zeppelin, Clapton, Kiss, Whitesnake. I mean, wow. Pretty amazing resume for this guy. So what are some of your favorite some of the best Eddie Kramer Kiss albums in your opinion?
Yeah, Jimmy Page sent me.
I wonder if that works now. Hey Eddie, Jimmy Page said I should reach out. Oh, come right in. And we'd have the run of the studio. We could just record some demos.
Yeah, Eddie, some of my Eddie Kramer is one of regarded by Kiss fans as one of like about maybe I think 3 of the top producers they've worked with. It's like him, Bob Ezrin, and Michael James Jackson, who they worked with in the 80s as like the 3 like great Kiss producers. But for my money, I would say Rock and Roll Over, which is, obviously my favorite.
Yep.
And Love Gun are my 2 favorites. And Yeah, and I mean, he also like and it's funny too, because in the early days before the first Kiss album, he produced the Kiss demos.
Mm.
Like they did demos, like he produced their demos to shop them around, and he wound up not producing them until like the 3 or 4 albums into their career,
Oh, really? So
which
who did the first albums?
a couple of hacks. No, it's these um uh, forgive me, I don't know where they came from. I think they were just suggested by the record company. It was this duo, Kenny Kerner and Richie Wise,
Mm.
who I think did like bubblegum albums,
Okay.
which went along with Neil Bogart, who's the president of their label. I think might have assigned them to Kiss, and they did the first 2 Kiss albums, which if you've listened to them couldn't be any different sounding. You know, you think that they had like completely different producers, but it was but yeah, and then Bogart himself produced the third album. And then actually it was yeah, I believe it was Kramer that produced Alive, and then Ezrin did Destroyer, and then they used Kramer again for their their first studio album with him was Rock and Roll Over. So they did a couple in a row with him, and then he produced Ace Frehley's solo album too. He worked with him on that. So
Oh, no kidding.
it's probably why it's regarded as one of the better ones.
Oh, so he only did Aces, and the others were all produced by other
Yeah,
folks.
because
They
they
all
worked
at
on
the
him.
same time.
Yeah, they worked on him simultaneously. So somehow Ace secured him, and
Nice,
the
smart move.
yeah, and I mean, I think the other guys too, like wanted to, their intention was to do something really non-Kiss like.
Mhm.
So they were trying to, so what do you want to do? You want to go with
Yeah, you're gonna go with the
not, a Kiss. Yeah.
no, sorry, you lost you for 1 second there, but we'll fix it in
Oh,
post.
okay.
Um,
Yeah. So anyways, yeah, I'm turning this into a Kiss segment, but anyways, I could go on and on.
that's the point. Got to talk about those crossovers. Okay, so let's talk about the album art a little bit. John, what do you think of the cover for Going Back to Colorado? And here it is. Boink.
There we go. I always saw this album and thought it was one of those you ever seen like the later on like the CDs where it has like the background and then the actual cover is like tiny and in the middle.
You know what? We didn't talk about this beforehand, but you're going exactly the place I'm going. I thought the exact same thing. The early the first 3 Deep Purple albums were like that, where it was like this little picture of it would be something about some stupid marketing BS around the back of it, and then there's a little tiny picture of the actual album cover in the center, off to the side, and that's what I thought with this one too.
Which I mean, I know that there were a lot of like what do you call it, like CD re-releases where they would have like for some reason I remember the first Aerosmith album was they had the actual cover like in the middle like that, and then behind it there was just like a bunch of like clouds.
Yeah. Oh,
And it was
so I hate that.
Yeah.
I hate when they do that. It's just like, I don't like when you mess with the album cover. It's like the most identifiable thing for an album, and to just make, and they very rarely make anything better. I mean, maybe there's a few like albums with really shitty album covers that they've made better, but for the most part it's just ruining the album cover, making it really tiny, making all this big stupid, and it's usually like there's something from the 90s or whatever in the background that looks modern for the time, and then you stick a album cover from the 60s or 70s on top of it, and then it's got this big contrast of like a newish style graphic design with an old school design, and it always looks stupid to me.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like, yeah, that's something that I think they did later. I don't know how early they did it, but anyways, a lot of these albums like this one, I'd seen it probably, I don't know, hundreds of times, right? And never really paid attention to it because I'd always look at it and be like, oh, okay, like that's, you know, that's like, that kind of album cover. But looking at it, like really looking at it, it's like those really, like the background is obviously has to be like an aerial shot of Colorado.
It must be
Uh,
Boulder or something, right?
yeah, like downtown. But the kind of it's not really, it's kind of like not black and white. It's kind of like this sepia tone or like a washed out
Yeah.
like color.
Well,
But it
I
remind
wonder if the background is like a LA or something, and it's like it's like showing the smoggy city, and then they're talking about, and that's why they've got that picture in the center.
well, either way, the um the the background, it reminds me of kind of the look of those early 70s movies that would come out, like the really kind of epic ones, like or not epic, but like, kind of famous ones now, like that kind of had that washed out color to them, like American movies, like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, or
Hmm.
what was that one, like the was it Chinatown, or was that the sequel? But those kind of like early, like those kind of early 70s, like kind of like filmmakers films,
Hmm.
where they had this really kind of bleak, kind of like washed out look to it. Like the ones that had like, Al Pacino in it and stuff like that. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, I would like, it really escaping my mind now, and it's really bothering me because I know what I'm talking about, but I can't think of the films or like the directors or whatever, but it has that kind of like washed out kind of early 70s urban like film look to it. And
Hmm.
then inside in the middle of it is like looks like a picture of the country in contrast to it, which also is mirrored in the Zephyr logo. So it's kind of like giving a little you know the the calm within the storm type of thing. Even though we're in the city, the countryside is in my heart type of like vibe. Like that's what I would get if they
Yep.
were going for like a meaning, I would think.
Yeah, they're leaving the So yeah, now I'm thinking it's got to be. It looks more to me like New York than anything. It's
New
probably just
York,
showing like the smoggy city of New York. Maybe it's LA. I don't know. It's
New
hard to tell that
York.
close up, and that New York, that foggy or smoggy kind of look to it, just makes me think it might be LA. But the buildings to me look a little bit more New Yorky. But it would just be that kind of thing, like, and I guess it would make sense since they recorded it in New York that it is New York, and they say,
Anyway,
"Oh, we're going back to. I can't wait to go back to Colorado and breathe in that crisp mountain air and have a Coors Light made from the Rockies, like that sort of feeling with that little central photo of this
mhm.
little photo of the mountains or hills of Colorado and missing that. So that's what I'm gonna go with. I'm gonna go with that it was a New York to Colorado sort of thing.
And even though it's not a I wouldn't say it's not an interesting album cover, but it's like when you first look at it, it's not very striking, I guess. You just look at it and be like, oh, okay, it's pretty nondescript, kind of basic 70s album cover. But when you look at it and read into it a little bit, it is kind of interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's nice. It's simple, and I think
Hmm.
what's cool is they have that Zephyr logo up at the top. That is
Mm.
the words Zephyr, but behind, like, it's almost like it's a cutout, and where the letters are, you can see the clouds and a little bit of
Yeah.
blue sky in the letters, which is really
Hmm.
cool.
Yeah, I like
Um,
that.
Okay, so the back of the album, pretty standard stuff. It's got a picture of all five of the main primary musicians, listing all the other musicians we've already covered. Side one, side two track listing. Nothing really groundbreaking right there, but some cool photos of the five. Then you've got the record label there's a demo or a promo copy, but there's the main copy there. It just gives songs and writing credits, and side two the same. So, oh, and look, I even found this 8-track version of it,
Whoa.
which is funny because it really focuses in on, you barely see any of the city. It's just a real zoomed up close picture of that Colorado sky.
Yeah, that's a pretty neat take on it. But I don't know, I kind of like I don't know, looking at the other one, maybe I've just because I've seen it so long, I kind of prefer more of the cityscape with the small countryside as opposed to the other way around. Although for 8-track, it looks pretty interesting.
Yeah, to me, it's like it's more, it's like this little, you've got this little sliver of your home in your in your mind, and you're kind of thinking of it even though you're stuck in the city. And I've got my CD copy here, which is pretty much the same. The back is almost the same with all the faces on the back of it, and then it's got, you know, one of those, you know, it's just a one gatefold little booklet with the stuff in it. Nothing really particularly groundbreaking in that anyway. So there you go. That's the artwork. Okay, but you know what? Before you know, we're through the artwork. The art cover was done by Ed Thrasher. Started his career with Capitol Records. He did
Ed Thrasher.
Wow. He worked on tons and tons of projects. He did Jimi Hendrix's "Are You Experienced?" He did the Doobie Brothers' "Toulouse Street." He did the poster and artwork for Prince's "Purple Rain." So he worked on a bunch of, you know, really high profile artwork that people are all familiar with. I passed away sadly in 2006. So R.I.P. Mr. Thrasher. That's one of those names too that I know I've heard a million times, but it never really made the connection. So, so yeah, so some pretty good behind the scenes coverage for this album here. Let's see how the songs sound. But before we get there, there's one thing we must do, and that is, of course, to thank our core level patrons. Coming in at the $7.77 Keep It Warm Rat tier, we have Michael Vader. At the episode $6.66 tier, Steve Coldwell, Arthur Smith, and Anton Glaving. At the $6.65 Almost Evil tier, we have Kenny Wymore. At the $5.99 Nice Price tier, we have Fielding Fowler, Robert Smith, Peter from Illinois, Michael Bagford, and Carl Helberg. And at the $5 Moneylender tier, John Convery, German Heindel, Adrian Hernandez, Jesper Elman, Alexi the Perfect Stranger Slepikoff, James North, Mark Hodgetts, Will Porter, Zwapper the Electric Alchemist, Tim Southern Cross Johnson, and Percival Frequency. Thank you so much to all of you for your generous support of the Deep Purple podcast. All right, John, it is that moment. It's time to get into the album proper. And we are going to do that with the opening track, which is, of course, the self-titled, the titular, Going Back to Colorado.
Here we go.
This one was written by Candy Givens, John Tessar, and Tommy Bolin.
Tommy playing a little slide there.
I wonder if we're going to hear a... Pretty rockin' blues, you know, bluesy, like the style you'd expect from Zephyr.
I mean, I'm already enjoying it more because even though it's Candy Givens, she's definitely reined it in. Vocally, her vocals seem to be produced better. She's not bebopping and going wild all over the place, which was really annoying before.
Well, and I think just the EQ on the vocals is better. It sits in the music so much more naturally.
Yeah, well, you know what? Like you said, that Eddie Kramer produced, so maybe he had a lot to do with it.
And I love that her vocals are
no slouch.
Her vocals are always so dry. Like, there's never even a hint of reverb on them. But it kind of works really well.
But you know, maybe he made some. Kramer made some song suggestions. Even though he was like really more of an engineer. Or he was really good at engineering an album, but I mean, he could be, could have made song suggestions as well as, like you said, EQing and balancing them out, making their sound really more accessible.
Mm-hmm. All right, big, long extended harmonica solo. So I guess I would expect one from Tommy on the break.
Yeah, right. I mean, you got Tommy Bolin in the band, and it's like, what do? You break out like a minute and a half like harmonica solo. The hell's up with that?
Well, he was Tommy Bolin, but he wasn't the Tommy Bolin quite yet.
True. Do you hear some double bass drum in there? Or something that sounds double bass drumish?
Could be. Oh yeah.
Interesting.
He could just be like kind of riding it, like bouncing off of it a little bit, but could be double bass. Using us.
Feel like I really feel like Tommy's guitar on this just sounds kind of weak. Not as playing, it's just the way it's produced. It doesn't have a lot of grit behind it, you know. It's not.
Yeah,
it's not really raw.
it's
it's not heavy.
It's a very clean tone.
Yeah, I don't know. It kind of sounds like it doesn't have any like really spine to it. You know, it's just kind of like.
Yeah, it's very noodly. It just sounds like that's kind of what they're going for, though.
I mean, you can tell it's him, but I mean, it's not his strongest work. I mean, remember keeping in mind too that he's still at the beginning of his career, so.
Yeah. All right. That was Going Back to Colorado. John?
The titular.
The titular. Going Back to Colorado. What do you think about that one, John?
I'll give that one a 2.5. I always thought it was kind of a I mean for lack of a better word, I don't want it to sound insulting, but kind of a weak opener.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think it's cool that they kind of had a theme to the album. They're like, all right, this is going to be the title track, whatever. But it's just like, yeah, I don't know. I just think it was, it didn't really have that oomph behind it. I just, and I mean, it wasn't just like the, Tommy's, guitar sound or his guitar playing, which wasn't, really prominent. It's just like the song itself was kind of, I don't know, it just didn't sound all there to me. Like, I think a lot of it has to do with like, she was kind of the guitar and the vocals kind of like mirrored each other, like the na 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 na. It kind of, and I don't really enjoy that too much. Little repetitive sounding, maybe.
Yeah, I can see that.
But yeah, not really the strongest track in my opinion.
Yeah, I think I'll give it a 2.5 as well. For everything you just said, the guitar really reminds me of something like another like prominent song, but it's like it's one of like those like it sounds like that like Country Joe and the Fish sort of kind of like hippie sort of jamming kind of song that doesn't really go anywhere. Yeah, when you think of like Sail On from the first album, I feel like it had a really like dun 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 dun, like had a really powerful chorus and some good driving guitar licks and some really good dynamics to it.
Yeah,
and like good guitar solo. And this one is just this to me seems like almost more like a filler track, and you don't want to open up your album with a filler track necessarily. So the next track up is called Miss Libertine. Some acoustic.
I don't hear anything.
Oh my goodness. There you go. Some acoustic.
Here we go.
No acoustic with it. This was written by Candy and David.
I think that now really like the vocals. I really like the verse in these. Like now they're doing something interesting rather than her just wailing away.
And rather than it just being another blues song.
Right. It has that real kind of flowy kind of 60s vibe to it.
Yeah.
You know, it sounds like a protest song or something like that.
Yes. Yep. I love the vocals.
And it's not just her. Didn't you say that David
her.
Givens was? Did you say it was David Givens singing with her? Or?
He co-wrote it with her, but
There's definitely a male vocalist with her.
doesn't list.
Get a little country twang in there.
It doesn't list anyone else unless it's this backing vocals, Gerard Gingerface McMahon.
Yeah, maybe it's
definitely a male voice.
Candy and Gingerface. Got a good groove to it.
As doing piano, but I don't know. Yeah, this one sounds like something that just would have been a bigger deal in like the later 60s before this album came up. But it sounds like something that would have. We've talked about before, like you're watching a documentary on the 60s and they put this song in to really drive home where it's from.
Yeah.
Here we go. Crazy stereo panning on the solo.
Oh, a short solo from Tommy.
A short solo and a short song. Only a little under 3.5 minutes.
Yeah, not hating that.
That fade sounds like it's kind of might bleed into the next song. But what do you think of Miss Libertine?
No, that one I liked. I'll give that one a 3.5.
Right.
Yeah, it had some really cool acoustic work in it. Love the vocals. Probably like we said, maybe Candy and Gingerface.
or Moogie Wilson or whatever that other guy's name was.
Candy, Gingerface, and or Moogie.
Candy and Licorice Allsort.
Yeah, what a bunch of crazy names we got going on here. But either way, like whoever sang the verses, this was very like tastefully done. Like I already like Candy's vocals better on this album because she's doing some interesting things and they're mixed right, and she's kind of in this, whoever she was singing with, she was like, you know, harmonizing with someone else, and it really gave that that feel, like we were saying, of the time that it was produced in, which I think is really cool because it's not easy to like achieve that. Like obviously they weren't doing that on purpose. Like, hey, we should make it sound like the 60s, you know, back in the 60s.
Oh, this sounds so 60s, guys.
This sounds so retro.
2 years ago.
This sounds so retro in the future. I bet. But I don't know. I think that there's really something to it's hard to put your finger on. Like you wonder like how a musician's like would produce something like that sounds so identifiably like in the period. Like you said, it sounds like I was thinking the same thing. Like if there was some kind of like A&E documentary, this would be like
Yeah.
the music under it when they're just like in 1970 or whatever. And
You just see like the helicopters flying over like rice paddies in Vietnam, and
exactly.
wait, hey, we need something to really punch up what era this is. Throw in the Miss
Right.
Libertine song.
Right. But you kind of wonder like how that sound just like naturally came from then to be so identifiable, like at this point, like 50 some odd years later to the 60s. And I mean, obviously you're like the influences, the music of the time, blah blah blah, but it's like not all of it is, as I feel, identifiable as this one. But I really like this one. I think that the vocals really had a lot to do with it, which is interesting, seeing is that like I was like holding my ears in the first Zephyr album, so I'm much happier already with this one.
So in this day and age of digital, I don't even know what to call it, but our digital lives being broadcast out there and being put out there forever, I have to be careful about with kids, like what we're consenting to have put out there about them. So I will not use my son's name when I say this. But they're about 10 now, so now we're at, they're going to be 10, and by the time this airs they will be 10. And we're at the, I know, right? But they're at that point where like when we take a picture of them, we have to ask them like, can I put this on Instagram or whatever? And sometimes they're like, no. Like, damn it. We have to kind of respect that. So, but one of my sons, we'll call him Nate's son in this case, because I will have to kind of use a name. He was about 3, maybe young, really, really young. He would refer to himself and he would say, my name is Nate's son Beaudry, libertine. And it was the weirdest thing because I know he'd never heard the word libertine in his life, like where it's not a word that gets dropped very often. B, he wasn't a libertine, at least I hope he wasn't a libertine. But it was the funniest thing because he just like dug out this word that's like a real word and just like would use it as like his name. I'm Nate's son Beaudry, libertine, and he would declare it like with his hand up in the air, like that was who he was. And it was so strange. It just came out of nowhere. But so whenever I see that word now, which is not very frequently, I think of, and when he said that, I was kind of thinking of this song. But I love this song. I will give it a 4. I love and like you said, it's just Candy and someone else, we still haven't figured out exactly who, singing in unison, but it like you said, it does have that like absolutely distinctive late 60s Woodstocky kind of sound. So
Yeah.
I'm looking through the actual CD liner notes now to see if I can figure out who's singing with her, but maybe it's Buzzy Linhart, although he only gets credited on one song, but maybe it's him because I can't figure out. John Ferris is quoted with vocals somewhere else, but I don't know. But yeah, I love the feel of the song. I think this is a great second song. So like, I think if they had a really strong opener and then went into this one, it'd be like, yeah, it'd be like, there's nothing better than having like a 1, 2, 3, 4 punch or whatever on an album where the songs go into each other and just build each other up to just really get you amped. And unfortunately, it doesn't happen in this case with the opener, but with this one, really great second track in my opinion. Okay, so next track up is the third track on the first side, Night Fades Softly, and I think it's going to blend right in from Miss Libertine. Backwards bass and Peter. So they're in the studio, so they're doing some studio trickery here.
Yeah, some of that crazy 60s stuff.
Which is fine in small doses.
Right.
The dose is getting larger and larger by the minute.
Well, they're going for something here. They're going for some mood.
Yeah, it sets a cool mood.
I mean, this is really a 60s thing to do. It's like, let's just have a bunch of like weird friggin' noise.
Peter. John's rolling his eyes. The avant-garde.
Oh my God. Help me.
Peter. Gardo. All right, so I'm starting to think that this is all we're getting in this track. It would have been a cool 30-second intro, but it's the Revolution 9 of Zephyr's catalog, but thankfully it's only a third the length of that song. About.
Yeah, I forgot that this was a thing.
I do not remember this at all. But but when you're just putting an album on, it's in the background, and you're not, but paying attention track by track. Yeah, this is. I can't tell if that's frontwards or backwards saxophone. Huh, there you go.
Oh, okay.
Nice, get the flute there, like a very reverberated flute. Nice groove to this.
There's only like a minute left.
Yeah, they took at least 2/3 of it was.
We spent a lot of time on that weird noise.
Great dynamics. Like I love how it's so low and just really chill. Really nice electric piano. There you go.
I mean, that was really enjoyable.
That was a roller coaster ride for me. I feel like I'm going to let you lead this off as we always do, because I'm kind of I'm all over the place. I'm upside down. I don't even know where to go with this one.
Yeah, me too. Because I mean, the beginning of Night Fades Softly, aka music to smoke pot to.
Smoking some doobs.
Music to smoke your doobies to, in parentheses. Night quote fades softly. I mean, come on, that was really like, for a minute I was like, is the whole song this? Because if it is, that sounds like one of those things they drop in there where you just be like sitting at the record player like oh man.
Is that even enough time to get high? And then they start with the song and you're like, oh man, I was hoping it'd be 20 more minutes of that backwards saxophone and Peter.
All right, you know what, I'm gonna go with a 3. And I'm giving that 3 to the second half or third or whatever of the song, because I really did enjoy the kind of ballady second part to it. And what I really liked was, aside from the music in that second half, not the first half was okay, but I mean, it was your typical, weird, like we said, avant-garde type of stuff, but
because we can sort of thing.
Yeah. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. One that Rich and I like to say a lot is from The Simpsons. It's just like, Homer, you shouldn't. What he said, Marge, you didn't say that I could. Oh shit, I'm messing it up.
Rich is already yelling at you.
No, he's just like, you're messing it up.
He's yelling at you right now in real time for us. Like he doesn't even know why, but then he's going to listen to this episode and be, oh, that's why I was so mad at John.
No. Carnival, and he gets his shirt deep fried, and he goes, see, Mark, I told you they could deep fry my shirt. And she goes, I didn't say they couldn't, I said you shouldn't.
yeah, you shouldn't make a 2-minute noise break on your album.
Yeah, we didn't say you couldn't, Zephyr. We don't think you should have. So yeah, that was the long way around. My apologies, Rich. I usually don't.
No, you
Well,
got
actually, I don't know.
you got there pretty quickly. It wasn't that
I'll mess up Simpsons references, like, on a 50-50 basis there. But anyways, the second part of it I thought was really good. And one thing that I really like is that finally Candy Givens has got control of her voice at that end when she did that kind of little
that little
melodic run there. Yeah,
and
she
she's just
she
like humming.
hummed it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
she hummed
beautiful.
it instead of like at the end of the first album. She would have been like, "Wah!" What it's like, we don't
Yeah,
want to hear
yeah.
that shit. Okay. It's like, so somebody reined her in. She learned to use her instrument, something. So
Yep.
it's like, good. I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, I will give this one a 3.5. I obviously felt kind of the same way about that first half of it. I don't mind little interludes like that on an album. I think that one went on a little long, but I've
Yeah.
Revolution 9 by the Beatles. That's all I gotta say. That one is to me in like intolerably bad, or intolerably bad, I should say. It's so long, and it's you listen to it once and it's fine, and if you're stoned, it's probably great. But after a while of listening to the album a lot, and you just like, oh, skip. I don't want to listen to whatever 9 minutes of this garbage. It's just tape loops and people saying little phrases, and it gets so old so fast. And I think when you're in the studio, when you have it's hard to, when you're really into something, to leave people wanting more. Um, and when you get into a thing like this, like that little weird avant-garde, avant-garde, we'll call it, because of the Peter thing, the avant-garde segment, you get in the studio, you could just play with that all day, and it's so much fun doing something like that. It's just not fun to listen to it
And see,
repeatedly.
we've like, I don't know about, well, you know what? No, you have done it. I mean, even when when you're what was it, your dad or your mom was talking about when you and Paul were doing like vocal overdubs for like
Yep.
hours of the same thing or whatever, that like along
Yeah.
those lines. Or like me and Erock would be like, when you have a new toy, when you have uh like uh like a 4 track at the time, or we discovered like computer editing or whatever, we would just just and everything because we could. And it's
Mhm.
just like, oh, we're being creative and we're being out there. And then like years later, you listen back and you're like, we were being idiots.
Exactly.
This is
because it
boring. This is not good.
because it doesn't serve the song. You're just doing it to do it. So
Or even
in
to
the one,
serve the music you're making. You're not even really making music at that point. You're just kind of like, I mean, I think it's kind of a cool thing, like part of the creative process, like coming from a musician standpoint, is like you're there and you're inspired and you're excited about it. So you're just like letting things out. But the thing is like somebody needs to edit them and be like, no.
right, it's one thing to do it, and it's another thing to put it out there. Like, do it, get it out of your system, have fun, and maybe put a little snippet of it in there, like a little. And to their credit, compared to their contemporaries and everything, that little 2-minute segment wasn't that much, compared to what they could have done with that. And I thought it was going to be the full 3+ minutes,
Yeah.
and honestly, even then, that wouldn't have been much compared to what some other bands would do with that sort of thing. So on the one hand, it's hard to have that restraint when you've got something like that you want to do. On the flip side of it, that last third of the song was the opposite, where they had this beautiful song going on, really mellow, really low, great little like flute line in the background, Tommy throwing in these little guitar licks, very soft drums, Candy singing the best we probably ever heard her sing to this point. And so by the first 2 minutes, you're kind of like, okay, I'm over this. And then it changes into the song, and when it ends, you're like, you kind of want more.
Mhm.
So it's cool. I mean, they could have easily turned that into a 3-minute song, but they kind of leave you wanting more, which I really like. I thought it was really interesting and cool. I mean, preferably I would have done like a 30-second intro of that noise, or maybe even a minute at the most, and extended the other part. But I thought it was really cool and interesting, experimental, and great playing and singing by everybody involved. So there you go. Okay, so next up is a track called The Radio Song, and this one features Buzzy Linhart on vocals.
Hmm.
So let's take a listen. A little bit of a departure. Yeah, I remember this one.
Oh, there's our first Candy Givens with effects on her vocals.
Yeah, it's got like a little double or like a delay or something.
Mm-hmm.
This is great. I mean, I like that they're expanding from just the blues, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like blues guys can do the blues, but when you kind of had these like 60s acts wanting to be bluesy, it could get old. And they're really, I think, trying something new on this album, you know, from where they were coming from on their first.
You like Sanford and Son is going to come rolling up. Hey, you dummy. That kind of, it has a kind of like 70s, like kind of jive to it.
You expect to hear like a boing, 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 you know, those strings, you know?
What a juice harp?
Yeah. Oh, is it a juice harp? Maybe. Which makes me think of Fat Albert's like Junkyard Band, you know? They have a barrel and a stick with a string on it.
It is pretty cool.
Very weird ending.
Yeah, see, there's some of that weirdo stuff we were just talking about, which was like what, like 10 seconds?
Yeah, exactly.
That's okay. That's okay.
Yeah, if they had gone into like 2 straight minutes of that, it would have been horrible.
Yeah,
but it was great.
All right, enough.
Yeah. All right, what do you think of the radio song?
I'll give it a 3. I think that was enjoyable. I liked the departure of it. I like the vocals. I'm surprised that like already we're like, not saying much about Tommy Bolin right now. We're just talking about he hasn't.
That's all about to change very quickly, but
Yes.
He hasn't made much of a splash yet in this on the album. He's been very
right. But so far I think it's album is mildly enjoyable so far. I thought this was a pretty pretty good song. I like the kind of that kind of feel that it gave. Like again, we were talking about how it's kind of the music is kind of giving what the era was, and this kind of sounded like this album was what, 70? 71. Yeah, so that really early 70s, like coming out of the 60s sound. So things hadn't quite gotten like funky or disco quite yet. So it's it's that really kind of early 70s kind of funk type of thing, or funky kind of thing rather, which I thought was pretty enjoyable, pretty neat.
Yeah, and it's worth mentioning that the last 2 songs were written by David Givens solo. With no additional writing credits. I will give this one 3.5, but I borderline 4 because I like the horns. I think it's just an upbeat, happy song. Again, not just in that generic blues vein, but really great. I love the little duet they got going between Candy and Buzzy. Candy, Buzzy, Moogie. What else we got on this album? But it's really really nice. Nice seeing these different, hearing them get a little bit more experimental and a little bit more interesting in their songwriting. So but now we've got to close out this side and to open up the next side, we've got back-to-back Bolin tracks written by Bolin. I suspect our Bolin solo streak or solo drought will be coming to a quick end The song "See My People Come Together." There we go. This is a 6-minute song here.
Oof. Yep. It's a cacophony.
Yep.
Everything's everywhere.
See the song come together here. This one I remember pretty well.
This is the one that I know the best. Bedlam.
Yep.
Like how it pulled together.
Yep. It's like when you think it's going to be just 6 minutes of that.
Can't you see my people come together, fighting for what we know is right?
Already we get some fills from Tommy.
Yep. Lots of stereo trickery too, going back and forth between both ears.
Just love his fills in this song.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great little. I don't even know if you call it the chorus or if it's just. It seems like a little teaser.
Oh yeah. Some great bass work in the back
yeah,
too.
Gibbons is doing some great little bass runs in the back. Tommy's guitar is just going back and forth from the left and right speaker. And I don't know if they must have done some remaster. This is just a rip straight from my CD from the, I don't know when this was released, probably the early 90s. But they must have done some remasters and stuff on this, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
Another doobie moment here. Peter.
Kind of a quiet interlude.
Oh yeah, this is great. Almost a little too much with that left to right panning. I really love that, that lead up there with the little background vocals, like, doing that little descending ooze.
The ground is starting to quiver, and I feel the earth is falling apart. My body's starting to shiver. My insides
I feel like Bolin was pulling out like every one of his tricks in the book for all the fills in this song at the time.
Well, I figure he's gone 4 songs basically really being understated. It's time for him to let loose. I want to say there's a demo of Tommy Bolin doing this one like with him singing. Maybe I'm making that up though.
That'd be interesting.
Given said they had worked out most of the song live
Hmm.
before they went into the studio,
Wow.
and that Tommy like wrote the outline of the song. Candy kind of filled in some of the lyrics, and then that Tommy kind of did his solo either on the first or second take. So I don't know if he just probably pressed record, overdubbed the whole solo in one take or two takes, but
Maybe.
very believable. Someone of his caliber could quite easily have done that.
Mm-hmm.
But, all right, what do you think of See My People Come Together?
4.5 for that one.
All right, wow.
So, well, I mean, this has always been, I mean, this is the one track on this album that I know. And I mean, this was the one on The Ultimate that got me into early Tommy Bolin. Like, this was like the representation, you know, this was the one where before we knew what the whole album was, you know, I was like, oh, this has got to be the whole album. And then it wasn't. But yeah, I mean, just all of the guitar fills, the solo, never mind the bass line underneath what he was playing too was great. And again, like you know, good for lack of a better word, more restrained vocal performance from Givens. But you know, I think that wasn't the highlight of the show. I think it was just like, you know, thank goodness it didn't overtake the song and overshadow like the you know, Tommy Bolin, which this song is like a highlight. This is like the showcase for him on the album right now. This is like, you know, I mean, you could see why they picked it to be on the Ultimate, because this is like the true showcase. I mean, you know, just a great guitar playing.
Yep. I'll give this one a 4. I really like it. I feel like maybe that intro at the beginning, maybe some things could have been tightened up a little bit, but overall it's just a really I like the overall gist of the song. I love the way it's I love the feeling it invokes. It kind of makes it takes me back to, you know, going to Strawberries, getting the Ultimate and listening to it nonstop for however long I listened to it nonstop. And then, you know, opening that whole world where I said, okay, literally getting out a piece of paper and saying, oh, this is from the Zephyr album Going Back to Colorado. Guess I got to get Going Back to Colorado. This is from, you know, Come Taste the Band. I guess I have to go get Come Taste the Band. This is from, you just writing down all the names of those albums and then searching out one by one, picking them off wherever I could, going up to Tower Records in Boston and picking some up there. And it just kind of an exciting, fun time in my life. And yeah, the song brings that all coming right back. So great song, great solos, good close to the first side of that album. That takes us to the second side, which again opens, close on one side for Bolin, open one with Bolin, and this one is the song called Show Busy. Yes.
Fireball.
Yeah, right. All for teacher.
See, now we're getting a little more into the rock.
Yep. Very short song, only 2.5 minutes. Bringing the vibroslap. Little harpsichord comes from out of nowhere. Nobody's credited the vibroslap on this. Check this part right here. So bolin.
I know.
I mean, this could have been a little interlude on Come Taste the Band easily.
Oh yeah.
Classic bolin. Man, a short song though.
Yeah, but that's good. Leaves you wanting more.
Oh yeah. That classic little repeating, that little repeating bolin line that he does at the end. It's so classic.
Yeah.
They said they recorded this in Studio B, Electric Ladyland, and they had the people from Lothar and the Hand people helping out. They described it as kind of being self-produced. Self-produced and with co-producing credits to Lothar and the Hand people, I guess.
Alright.
And while we were looking at that, I grabbed my CD booklet again, and it looks like David Givens was the one doing the vocals on Miss Libertine.
Oh, okay.
So for some reason it's not listed in the vinyl that I could see, but maybe that was corrected. I mean, or maybe it wasn't. I just don't have the notes, but it seems to have been corrected on the CD version. So what do you think of Show Busy?
Show Busy. I'll give that a 4. It's another that's the 1-2 punch of the album. My people come together and Show Busy, which I always thought that they were like sister songs to each other, because they were basically like the first 2 real rockers of the album.
The first 2
this
Bolin
one
written
much
ones.
shorter. Yeah. Well, and it makes sense too. And I mean, and this one is much shorter, but I mean, you have the kind of rockin', verse, everything, him doing the fills like in between like pretty much every vocal line, and then like you said, that really like funky Come Taste the Band like solo. Some really great elements in there, and I like the fact that it's shorter, because he could have gone off and done like another, like he could have extended the solo for like a minute or two, and we would have been fine with it. But I like the fact that they held back on it, and they just had to be really concise. So so far the Bolin songs are winning for me.
Yeah, and this I guess is where we'll flip flop on the 2 Bolin songs, because I will give this one a 4.5. This one to me was the only one that was always the big standout. I like to see my people come together, but this one was really just a little, how much they jammed in a pretty extended guitar solo, a little musical interlude, funky bit, verses and choruses all in about like 2.5 minutes. It takes you on quite a journey very quickly, and it definitely, like you said, leaves you wanting more. So really dig that one. Okay, so that takes us to another. This is John Tessar and Tommy Bolin co-wrote the next track, and this one is called Keep Me.
Let me descend from this lonely sky, dear God, hear me once again. Let me descend from this darkened
That friggin' flute again.
Yeah, John Ferris is really getting a lot of mileage out of that flute.
But it's not
John-
bad.
John Ian Anderson Ferris. I wonder if he's standing on one leg like a crane while he's recording this.
That's that closer to my home from Grand Funk
Yeah.
Railroads vibe.
He beat me to it by by half a second.
Yep. See,
Yeah.
we know.
Got that vibe for sure. Oh, nice.
Oh yeah, the Rocky Horror vocals in there.
Rocky Horror.
Yeah, but yeah, the gospel kind of
Yep.
vocals.
I love it. I mean, I just eat that stuff right up.
We know.
Coverdale solo album.
Hmm.
Play Me Out, you name it. Elf. And David Given's bass playing is just fantastic on this album.
Yeah, never really gave it a lot of thought, but yeah, before this, but yeah, he's no slouch either.
Nope.
On this road of misery, I'm not sure what I'll find. It's so late in the night.
This is a kind of great thing. Like, you know, a second track on a second side after that rocker have this really kind of mellow, like almost a gospel sound. Is to me, I love that flow of those two styles.
Oh, keep me, keep me.
A little weird little tempo change there.
Oh, keep me, keep me. Oh, keep me, oh, keep me. Keep me, keep me. Oh, Lord, you wanna keep me for a while.
Oh, no, it's like a Crosby, Stills and Young sort of ramp up at the end. No,
What happened to Nash?
Crosby, Stills. I left him out.
Who needs
Poor
him?
Nash. I thought that's what they're going into that little bing, doo 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 doo, like gonna go into like
Yeah.
a little bebopping acoustic thing at the end.
Let me descend from this lonely sky. Dear God, hear me once again. Let
They really loosen the reins on Ferris when it comes to that flute on this album.
It's almost like, you know, he and Candy swapped. She's like, you know what, I'm gonna be more reserved. You can go ape shit with that flute. But I think the flute is what gives it that kind of like grand funk
Yeah.
type of feel, because that Closer to My Home had that in the outro to it.
And it's very airy, super reverberated sound too.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was Keep Me, written by John Tessar and Tommy Bolin. What do you think about that one, my friend?
Keep me.
Keep me, I'll keep you.
I'll give it a 3. I thought it was definitely an enjoyable song. It obviously evoked like a style of music that we both liked. I liked it.
Mhm.
I mean, you know what, but the thing was that the flute was not so obnoxious. Like we
Oh,
we
no,
were
no.
talking about it, so we were like, oh, there's that flute, but it wasn't like so obnoxious that it was like bothering me. We were just, you know, I was making fun of it because, you know, you were talking about it. But you know, I think it was not only a well-written song, but it's like I heard some parts where, and I'll keep talking about it, where Candy Givens would have like gone nuts on the first album, and she really pulled back and like actually sang instead of like, had a conniption fit, and it's like it sounded it sounded really good.
Yeah.
The only thing I didn't like was the way that she sang "Dear God." She went,
I-
"Dear God," like
God.
she went like
It's like Woody
God.
Allen. God. Oh God. Oh jeez.
Like Yahweh, if you will.
I broke two teeth giving a hickey to the Statue of Liberty.
But that's the one gripe that I have with the song is that that the way that she sang that line at the beginning and at the end when she repeated it, I thought maybe she could have sang it a little more, and instead she kind of like, I don't know, croaked it out. It was like it was just.
I did not notice at all. Was it like Blues Brothers? Like we're on a mission from God. Was it that sort of thing, or was it?
No, but she was just like, "Dear God," she kind of was like just like let it kind of like just
Well, maybe just like
out.
putting like a lot of like passion into it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess like what she went for, like I get it, but it's like I would have made a different choice, like something a little more, melodic. I don't know. It kind of like sounded flat. It's a really small thing. It's one word, in the line, but it's like,
Yeah.
it kind of took me out of it a little bit. And I'm kind of like, every time I hear it, I'm just kind of like, ugh. So, but regardless, still a 3 song or 3 rating.
Fair enough. I'll give it a 3 as well. I think long. I think for what the song was.
Mhm.
To come from the previous song that was 2.5 minutes that could have easily been 5, and I would have been fine with it. But then going to this one and having it be almost 5 and feeling like this could have been 2.5 minutes. I feel like the bones of what were there were great. Love the background vocals. Loved Canty's singing. Loved David's bass. I mean, everything that was being done, the flute, everything was really good. But I just felt like it didn't go a ton of places from a songwriting and arrangement standpoint. Performances, the production, everything, I think were really strong. So that's all I got for that one, which brings us to our next track, which is called Take My Love. This dirty little groove here. This one's written by just Faris solo. Probably where we're hearing like a little saxophone.
Sax, yeah. Oh, that's right.
Faris is singing on this one.
Is it?
Yep. Oh, the bass. It's really great tone on it. Faris's vocals really reminded me of like somebody on Jesus Christ Superstar. I can't think of who.
Like Pilot or Annis or Peter.
Maybe Peter.
I'm just throwing darts at like anybody in the Bible, like Peter.
Simon.
Yeah.
We should start listing apostles.
I feel like he's kind of mumbling the vocals a little bit. They're mixed a little low.
Yeah.
But now that you said, it kind of gave it this, like, it's got that Jesus Christ Superstar feel.
Or just one of those guys that would like have said one line like, "Look at my tongue, I can hardly talk." Like one of those sorts of things.
Oh, that's right. He sounds like one of the lepers. That's
yeah, he's a leper. That's one of the lepers. Miscellaneous leper number 3.
It's like, yeah, nice miscellaneous leper 3 vocals there. No, but actually, like, framing it like that, like listening to it as kind of like a Jesus Christ Superstar outtake, I kind of like enjoying it that way.
I mean, the music in this, the groove on this song is fantastic. It's a really,
You know, like this is like miscellaneous leper 3, like ready to make love before he became a leper, and he's just like, oh my love,
take my love. And then she discovers he's a leper. He's like, I guess not now. You probably don't like lepers.
I don't mind, like, I guess the vocal delivery, it's just mixed a little low,
It's low.
but the music is really good. Like,
It's really
great bass line.
It's weird that they, you know, 'cause Tommy wrote all these songs and didn't sing anything, and David kind of did that one thing where he backed up Candy, but it's weird that they wouldn't have given this to Candy to sing.
I know, right?
But there's also not like a ton going on vocally. It's pretty low key, not a ton of lyrics. It's just cool seeing a band like on its second album really kind of expanding, and then seeing all the songwriting. And it's like, oh, Tommy wrote the songs, so there's gonna be some more guitar solos. Oh, the saxophone guy wrote the songs, so there's gonna be more sax, and it's kind of cool. And giving somebody else a chance at crack at lead vocals. I mean, you've had a duet, you've had her and Candy and David singing in unison. You've had the sax / piano guy have his own crack at it. The only thing we haven't seen is really Tommy singing any lead.
I mean, I
Maybe
wonder
he
if,
just-
you know, he
maybe-
didn't have the confidence to sing yet, or he didn't consider himself a singer, or didn't try yet, or I don't know.
That's what I'm thinking. He would have been so young at this point. Maybe he just wasn't quite there yet. But
Wasn't
what do
ready.
you what do
yeah.
you think of "Take My Love"?
So I'll give this one a 3. I actually really did enjoy it. I mean, it's definitely a lot of these songs, like this is another one, it didn't go anywhere. It just kind of hung around in its area. And I know there have been a couple of songs like that, but I think that just means that these are like really kind of like mood pieces. I think, which is fine, you know, because I think that this album is like establishing overall like a mood. And I mean, this one was just kind of really chill. I mean, you could sit in there and enjoy the bass groove and, like, you know, listen to the drum, you know, that kind of like, you know, a mellow sax just kind of like floating, you know, in the background, and like him kind of just oozing out the vocals, just like, you know, like you could picture him like sitting like in a chair, like smoking a cigarette, just laying back, just being like, oh, you know, just kind of like maybe he was drunk when he was singing it, you know, just like it's a vibe, you know. And I
like
enjoyed that about
That
it.
was like your Arthur face when you used to do Arthur with the martini.
Can't believe you remember that.
Every time we went to like the video rental store, you'd walk by and you'd go like,
When you
do
go to
Arthur.
Blockbuster and be like, hey, look, it's Arthur. Arthur. Oh, there's like, that's so weird, because for a while that was like there was just like the movie with like Dudley Moore, like, and it was like it became famous for, he was like, yeah, he was just a drunk in it, you know. So
Yeah, I
it's
just
like
remember him being like drunk in a bathtub drinking. I know I've seen it. I just been a while.
hey love, you know. I just
I
remember
will-
Arthur 2 on the Rocks,
Yeah, I can't believe they made a sequel of that movie.
co-starring Liza Minnelli. Oh yeah, because he wasn't drunk enough in the first one, they had to make a sequel. So
Didn't he get cleaned up? No, I guess not. I will give this one a 3 as well. I really dig the groove. I think it's a great. It almost could have been an instrumental. Maybe make it a little shorter, but great groove to it, great vibe. Yeah, I don't think I can say anything else that you haven't already said. So with that, we will go on to our second to last track, and that one is called "I'll Be Right Here." And this one is another John Tessar and Tommy Bolin track.
Tessar Bolin joint.
Yep. Got that Joe Cocker feel to it.
Hmm.
Reminds me of like a little help from his cover of A Little Help from My Friends. Starts off with that intro and then has that little calm saga segment before it starts up.
Yeah.
When you imagine this, just imagine Tommy singing it on one of his solo albums. It's like so easy to hear him singing it. What again? I don't want to harp on it, but it's such a great transition from their first album being just we're a blues band, a bar band that plays blues songs, to coming into some really good compositions here and good arrangements and doing something a little different than the more generic sound, what I would say, of the first one.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the great thing about this is this second album shows growth.
Oh yeah,
So
big time. It's like that. It reminds me very much of that transition we saw with Elf, where it was good, but it was very samey and very, just kind of retreading the same old thing. And you see them grow through their 3 albums to be really writing some interesting songs. And same thing here. But obviously we'll go on to see how many Bolin albums have we covered at this point, a dozen, and just how prolific he was as a songwriter. And we're seeing the early stages of that here. It's really interesting and cool that Tommy had all of these like partners, these songwriting partners over the years, and John Tessar was one of them.
I don't know though. This one really isn't grabbing me. Just seems like it's kind of just being repetitive.
Yeah, I think it's another example of a song that,
I don't know. I just feel like it's kind of
maybe goes on a little longer than it needs to.
Yeah, I just feel like it's just kind of like just going in this cycle.
Yeah.
It's just kind of round and round.
Yeah, we can get to the fifth repetition of the chorus. You kind of get it.
I mean, I think we're in filler territory with this one.
Yeah, I think that's fair. But what do you think about this one? Besides what you already said.
I'm gonna give it a 2.
Oh, a whole 2. Wow.
Oh. Well, keeping in mind that a 2 is like a little below like a half rating, you know.
Yeah.
It wasn't it wasn't I don't think it was bad. It's just I don't think it was remarkable. Like I said, it seemed really repetitive. Like you go into like that kind of like mellow, like you said, kind of Joe Cockerish type verse, and then the chorus, and then back to the verse, and then the chorus. It was just kind of like, it was like Groundhog Day. I felt like, how long is this thing going to go on for? So yeah, this is one I remember not really liking that much. Skip. I'll skip this one.
I'll give it a 2.5, which to me is just kind of average neutral. I think it's kind of a good, I think, rounding towards the end of the album sort of song with the backing singers and everything. And it sounds to me like it actually would be kind of a cool closer. But yeah, I think my main takeaway so far on this album, and might be my main takeaway, I can't imagine much is going to change after one more track, is just a discrepancy between how long songs are on the album. It seems like the ones that are short could be a little longer, and the ones that are long could be a little shorter. So it's just that kind of consistency of, and there's nothing wrong with you wanting more from a song. Like I said earlier, like leaving them wanting more is a good thing, but some of the long songs I think go on a little bit too long for what they are. If there's no instrumental breakdown or no interlude or no different place it's going to take you, why have it be 4.5 minutes when it could be 3.5 minutes? Which leads us to the final track on the album, and it is written by Candy Givens solo. It is called At This Very Moment.
Oh boy. I feel like this is going to be an indulgence piece.
We got a track listing of almost 6 minutes. Oh, I remember this one. That's nice. Actually gives an example. Breath. And that thing she did at the beginning, when she like kind of matched that's very technically really impressive. Almost operatic. Oh, Echoplex sounds like. Did it again. It's a beautiful little melody.
Sounds like it could have been like a musical or something,
Yeah. Very interesting composition. Someone's drinking Rumplemints? What did she say?
Was Rumplemints even around back then?
Probably. Oh, maybe. Who knows?
Oh, used to rip shots of that and call it Rumpelstiltskin. Who wants a shot of Rumpelstiltskin?
I remember. I'm not finding any lyrics for this. It's kind of a cool instrumental piece here. Like that right there being the end would have been, I feel like that could have been the end. That being said, I feel like the song's going places. I don't think it's not what I was afraid of when I heard the opening 10 or 20 seconds. We've heard enough songs like that.
No, that's the thing is like, these songs are like the more mellow songs like this one. It's definitely kind of pleasant.
Yeah. And it's kind of like really showcasing how disciplined she's become as a singer.
Oh, definitely. What the hell's gonna go on for the next 2 minutes here?
Reminds me of kind of like a
Probably this.
Beatles-esque piano, reverberated piano outro here. Although they would only do it for about 15 to 20 seconds.
Like the bass, they're
It's nice. But I think, again, another example of a song, I think if it had ended at that 2-minute mark or whatever, I said that, it would have been a great little album closer. I mean,
yes.
it's not bad. It's just, I think, a little lengthy. But again, bands would tend to do that, get in the studio, get a little self-indulgent. All right. Well, we'll call it early. What do you think? What do you think of at this very moment?
At this very moment.
At this very moment.
It's like la 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 la. You know, the vocal exercises thing. No, it's actually, it was, you know, that's I like that. I think that's kind of impressive, you know, that she did something a little different, you know, something we don't hear from her.
Yep.
Man, I'm gonna give this a 2.5.
Okay.
As you mentioned before, you know, average, middle of the road rating. I mean, I don't think that there was anything really outstanding about it. Some good moments in it, you know, some good melodies. Like I said, Candy Givens doing flexing her vocal muscles, but in a productive way.
Mhm.
But yeah, kind of I don't know, kind of ended the album on a thud.
Yeah. I'll give it a 2.5 as well. I like I said, if they had done that little thing, I think it was really impressively composed song and performed. Vocal performance was great, but I think at the end of the day, yeah, it was just a little bit too extended for my taste, I should say. So there you go. So yeah. Okay. So that was Zephyr going back to Colorado. John is going to bust out the spreadsheet while I thank our foundation level patrons for their support. So coming in at the $3.33 halfway to evil tier, we have Raf Calf. At the $3 nobody's perfect tier, Peter Gardot, Ian DeRosier, Mark Roback, Duncan Leask, Stuart McCord, Flight of the Rat Bat Blue Light, Ivan Fjeldbu. It's a great life if you know we can. It's a Runar Simonson. It's a great life if you know we can. It's a and JJ Stenard. Coming in at the $1 made up name tier, we have The Mile High Gravesite, Leaky Mausoleum, Stephen Somerville, The Concerto 1999 Fanatic, Spike the Rock Cat, Hank the Tank, Private Eyes, Ash and Lionel, Spike's Mom, Blackmore's Tights, and John Maselli. All right. And with that, you know what time it is.
Bill John's busting out the spreadsheet, and he's fumbling with the tabs. Oops,
All right, John, what is the tail of the spreadsheet?
So Zephyr is in the lower percentile, going back to Colorado of our ratings. Got a combined 6.4 with a 0.20 variance. You liked it a teensy bit more than I
Okay.
did. Yeah, it's a little bit like a hair above Seventh Star by Black Sabbath and a little below Carolina County Ball, which you previously mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and oddly enough, the first Zephyr album is a few above it here.
Yeah, that's weird. I mean, I think it might have been because it had a couple of really strong Bolin songs on it.
Mhm, Probably.
But and maybe we're a little generous in some of the other songs. But yeah, I mean, I would say overall, this is a far better um, produced and done album.
Yeah, I would say I enjoy this one more. I mean, I would be more likely to listen to some some stuff off of this just because of the variety,
Mhm.
which we've been talking about, while listening to the album. So, but yeah, that being said, I don't understand how how we get the first one was above it in
Must be
ratings,
a clerical error.
but but yeah, it's any given day, I mean, who knows, you know what I mean? It's like actually I can kind of curious now. Just want to look. Whoops.
What are the individual song rankings from that one?
Yeah, I could probably. I mean, we never do this, but or we typically don't do this. Did you just sort that?
Nope.
Yeah, yeah, you did. Oh no, you
Did
didn't.
I don't think so.
All right, let's see. Ah, of course, it's going to be all the way at the bottom. Z for Zephyr. All right, so trying to see. Yeah, it was like a couple of fours, 3.5s, 3.5s, a two. Oh, 4.5,
Yeah, I think that four. Yeah, we had a few
3.5, 3.
higher ranked songs for sure.
Yeah, yeah, there were a few things on there. Like if you look at the first album, like we both rated like Sail On pretty high, Boom Ba Boom, Cross
Yep,
the River, St. James Infirmary, Hard Charging Woman, Charge It.
that's right.
They were all yeah, so I guess yeah, I would say maybe despite Candy Given's vocal performance on the first album, but I would have to say that if I was gonna pick a better album, it would be this one, if for nothing else, that she learned how to rein it in,
Yeah,
like get better at her
I think it was
craft.
instead of being like a live band sort of situation, like
Right.
it was more done in the studio, like for the album and for the song. So,
Hmm.
so as far as this album goes, it was not huge commercial success. Kramer, I think, was pretty out of it. He called the band one day and said, Hendrix just died, so we're not recording today. And the band was really bummed out. He died during the recording of this album. They all went into the studio one day and started like doing a Hendrix jam to kind of like honor him, because obviously that was a big blow to anybody in this community. One of the engineers came and chased them out. They played like Hey Joe and Foxy Lady, and they got kicked out because they're like, what are you doing here today? It was kind of, they were doing it as kind of a an homage or a tribute, but it was kind of viewed by the people at the studio as being disrespectful, so which was not what I don't think what they were going for. And then I guess after Jimmy's death, David Given said that like Kramer wasn't really giving them the attention that they needed. He was more focused on working on this incomplete Hendrix album, trying to finish it, and obviously it was called Cry of Love, and he was working on it. One of the songs they said they remembered hearing was Belly Button Window, which I remember they released on that Voodoo Soup album, and I really loved that song when that album came out in the early 90s. So I think they were really kind of caught up in all that, and yeah, that was kind of it. After this point, they kind of the band disbanded. A few little quick reviews because we're running a little long here, but Billboard review in February of 1971. Going back to Colorado gets this new rock group off to a breezy start. The quintet has a lot on the ball, and they show it off well on songs like See My People Come Together, Miss Libertine, Take My Love, and the radio song. Cashbox review says it shows they've come a long way since first appearing on the recording scene. Candy Givens has at last learned how to harness the intense power of her voice. The group's writing has improved considerably. Also, Tommy Bolin is now writing excellent songs. So it's kind of mirroring what you were saying about Candy. And then David Givens on Candy Givens. I understand why people don't like her at all if they ever heard was that first record, or even going back to Colorado early on, and particularly on the first record, because they're all take 500. She sounds really stupid and overamped. She was in some ways the female equivalent of Robert Plant in the beginning. If you listen to Sunset Ride, the Zephyr album we made after Tommy, you can hear that she can actually sing beautifully. And I would argue you can hear that on this album in many spots.
I agree.
So after this, Tommy leaves the band with Bobby Berge in tow. They form Energy with Jeff Cook, Stanley Sheldon, and Tom Stevenson. That's it. That's
And then
Zephyr going back to Colorado.
Vowing to some egghead in a VHS documentary he would never sing, he would never play behind a female singer ever again.
That's right. That's what he said. It's just a very 19-year-old thing to say. If you're like, oh, I was in a band with a woman and it didn't go well, I'm never recording with a woman again, as if that's the reason that that they butted heads.
All women are bad.
Yes, it's very 19-year-old, but
Oy.
we expect. So anyway, that's Zephyr. It's going back to Colorado, and we're going back to our respective states to do our thing. So
Well, I never left, so
neither did I.
so we're going somewhere else.
We're staying in our respective states. So there you go.
I'm going back to the kitchen for a snack after this.
Yeah, as am I. All right. Well, that's
Okay.
it, John. Thank
Yeah.
you so much.
Thank you.
You have a great night. See you
You
guys
too.
next week.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Deep Purple Podcast. If you like what you hear and would like more episodes in the future, please donate on Patreon to support the show. You can also leave us a review in Apple Podcasts to help new people discover the show. You can follow us on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook for show updates. See deeppurplepodcast.com for more details. Thank you for listening.